bad. Me no know about you, but me love think it's bad. Me no know what them a talk about when them say think it's mad.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. You're in tune to 98.9. That's Win FM on your radio dial. It's Friday morning again. Thank God it's Friday for some of us, and oh my gosh, it's Friday for others. It's the weekend for some of us. It's payday for some of us. It is payout day. I think that is the that is where the confusion comes in. But it's life. Life is a cycle. When it comes in, it has to go out. So I suppose some of us are on the receiving end and some are givers. And that's what makes life so interesting. It's a beautiful day on the outside. We were expecting lots of wind and rain today, but unfortunately for us, the sun is out in all its glory. And for those of you who are not here, those of you in the diaspora, it is who are citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, and you'd have given up this. Well, I'm telling you, you've missed out on a lot. And the unfortunate thing about it is our borders are still closed. And it will be closed, I suppose, for another month or so, or maybe more. We don't know. We are monitoring the situation here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and we do hope that in the very near future, we'll be able to open again for business, because this COVID-19 is taking a toll on the whole world. It's the biggest country I see have come down to become humbled by this virus called COVID-19. It shows us who we are in life. We are so fickle. We are just a breath of air, and a lot of us are not aware of that. Some of us think that we are so powerful and mighty, but the littlest of things can make the strongest of man into the weakest of man, and that is the whole world today. Sometimes, we have to really start changing our consciousness, and we start to look at things from a different angle, and I think that's why the year 2020 is for the year of the visionary, but unfortunately, a lot of us are not really conscious enough, and we are enlightened enough to recognize what 2020 has brought in for us. For some of us, it's negative, and for others, we are reaping the benefits. We are seeing the positive things. We are starting to become the reapers because we were prepared for this time, the year of the Aquarius. And I suppose if you're not in tune, you would not understand what I'm saying. It is about that time, the time for your views. Your Views is a program that is aired on Win FM every Friday morning at 10 o'clock, 10 to 11. It's a program where you call in. You can call in. Most of the time we have people we are looking at situations that are affecting us in a negative or positive way, our environment or economy or emotions, anything that, affects us, and things that we can make a positive change or input and help to change directions. We welcome that on Your Views. So it's sometimes we open the lines and you can call in and you can be a part of the program. Other times it's for information purposes, so we'll bring people who can inform you. And again, if it's right, it's true, people complain that sometimes they can't call in, but sometimes because it's an hour, you get into it and it's not enough time for us to bring forth all of the information that we need. And we want to make sure that people have the right information that is going to take them into the right direction. That's what Your Views is all about. So we do hope that you can stay tuned. If you are in tune now and you're a friend that is not listening, because people say, I don't realize, I forgot that you're coming on at 10 o'clock. You can call a friend and let them know that Your Views is on and that they can listen. And if they want to call in, they too can call in if you give the opportunity to do so. Okay, now that we've had the introduction, let's talk about what we are going to discuss today. Like I said today, good morning. We have Ras Kalunji. He's in the hot seat. He's my guest this morning. Kalunji, good morning and welcome to Your Views.
Pleasant good morning, Sister Sandra. And it's good to be here on this beautiful Friday morning, summer morning in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, Lyomega and Oli. And I'd just like to greet all of our people, Africans, those on the continent and those in the Western Hemisphere, and throughout the whole globe, greet you in the presence of our African ancestors and those who have struggled to bring us to this position in life, even though we are facing serious times in the sense that the COVID-19 is here and, we're struggling to deal with all of that. But I also like to greet our people in the presence name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of himself. Yesterday was the 128th anniversary of his birth. So we'd like to say, give thanks to His Imperial Majesty for the 128th Earth Strong, you know, and we say the struggle continues, and we're here to educate our people in any way possible.
Okay, thank you. You see, there's a lot of things, and you know, it's nice to hear you talk about the education part of it, because one of the things that I find here in St. Kitts, no, in the entire Caribbean, in the world on a whole, because people like to look at the fact, oh, black people are this, or white people are this, or it's the Indians are this. We are humans, and because of the culture that we come up in, we are all different people. Because of the way the education, the form of education, the information that we get, you know, that would make us who we are, and we behave differently because of what we've been exposed to. But at the end of the day, when you look back into the whole meaning of humans and what we really are, we see that we're all the same. We are no different. The air that you breathe is the same air that I breathe in. We live the same way you live. What you depend on, the minerals of the earth that you depend on for life, is the same minerals that they all depend on for life. But the culture makes the difference. The education, the information that we get makes the difference. And that is one of the reasons why it is so key. Education, information is key. And you have to make sure that the right information is given there in order for you to get the right behavioral pattern. And we have to start from our youths, because at the end of the day, our youths are humans. We are like monkeys. We mimic. And we learn. Look at the child when a child is growing up. He says my granddaughter, she says exactly the same things I say. Her tone is the same tone. And you wonder, because that's what we do. Our children, they mimic us. And so that's why we have to be a good example. And we have to make sure the information that we give out there is the one that is going to mold and shape the future, our future. Because you know what we're doing, Kalonji, is that we are losing our history. We are losing the connection from whence we came and where we're going. We are losing a lot of that. We have become a very misplaced or displaced society. People around here, we are multicultural now. We realize things has opened up its shores, its gates to all sorts and sundry, all race and ethnicity. You know, everybody is so different, and so you have a mixture of culture. And so some people are going to learn, some people are going to teach, and some people are it's gonna just happen where you just gravitate to certain things, and we tend to lose who we are here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We don't even know what our national dish is. Do we have one? We don't even know what our national flower is. Do we have one? And the young people coming up, they're losing that. And so that is one of the reasons why I know that you're a very conscious person. I listen to you. I've had you here on more than one occasion. You're very knowledgeable. And the thing is that we don't look to our locals. We're always bringing in people from other shores to come and educate us and tell us where we should go. And we have a wealth of knowledge here on the island, but we don't get into it.
You make some good points, you know, as you talk about your grandchild. Like, that's how we are socialized. Whatever they see that the adults or the parents do, they follow in footsteps. But I'd just like to make a quote from His Imperial Majesty. Principles alone can endow our ideals with force and meaning. Let us be true to what we believe, that our belief may serve and honor us. Now, over the years, we were not taught these things, but we were brought up in a time when, you know, our people was coming into a sense of consciousness. I, in particular, coming out of the late 60s, coming into the 70s, you know what I'm saying, and the Black Power movement, the Rastafari movement. So we had something to ground us in a sense, because it was something new in the world, and it was strange to our parents. But as time continued, you know what I'm saying, that we who are serious about the liberation of our people, and as we grow, we get more experience, and we dedicate our lives. In particular, I dedicate my life to the liberation of our people. Certain people don't understand it, and as I learned from Dr. Ben, that we don't all get it at the same time. So we go through different experience, we go through life, you know what I mean. Some people think that life is just about making money and, you know, paying your bills and stuff like that. But we understand that we have a responsibility to our ancestors who have struggled in the past to bring us to this level. So we have a responsibility now to the young generation to show them where, like, the struggle continues, and we have a responsibility to relay some information, education to them, so they could, you know, it's like you're running a relay race. You know, the baton was passed to us. We have to pass the baton on to them, because in the final analysis, as His Majesty said, we are confident in the victory of good over evil.
But you see what is happening now. We have the baton, but what is happening? A lot of people are getting injured on the track. You know, the one who's supposed to be passing the batons have hamstring issues. Some can't finish the race. And so the person who's waiting for that pass over the information that is supposed to come through is not really coming through. And when you look at our schools, though, that is something that we have to seriously start looking into. You know, how we're going to get it from there, because you have the primary level, and from that primary level, you realize what they're taught. And, you know, you realize what is missing, and then they come up. By the time they come up to the secondary level, they have been, because we have a mixed culture. They have been basically taught something else through their peers, and the information that they get. By the time you start to give them the pieces in the secondary level, you start losing them. I used to like history. Was one of my strongest subjects. But the way it was taught, it created that sense of hatred. People talk about racism. It become, when you start to look at the atrocities that was handed down to our people, it makes you starting to hate, because the information coming out, it's in pieces. You can't seem to, it creates a mindset for you because you don't have a full understanding of it. You understand the pain and the suffering, and you hold on to the pain and the suffering. You understand the word that you use about our struggles. But at one point in time, we have to stop the struggling. We have to stop, we have to reach to the point that we are no longer struggling anymore. And I think that is the area that we are missing. We are still going through the struggles of the black man. That is something that we have to get rid of. The black man should not be struggling at this time. We have all the information now.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying is a process. You have to understand it. I used to think just like you. We should reach a point where we stop struggling. But there's so much things affecting us as a people, like, when we was younger, we was more militant, and, we more, what I'm saying, we want this thing to happen just now.
No, I think when we were younger, we were more docile. For me, it wasn't militant. Racism was not so prevalent in our time. When I was growing up, we look forward for the white man to come because he had the sweets and the gift to bring. So I was from Nevis, and they were the ones who give you the old clothes, they bring them back, and they give you the handouts, and you look forward for them to come because you look at them as they were very nice people. But when I reached secondary, and I was a primary school student then, but when I got into secondary school and I was taught about the slave trade and how we were brought to the Caribbean, I mean, it is a total different mindset.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, it impacts people differently. Mm-hmm. For instance, I learn these things, but, I don't really get to me in that sense, because I realize that you have to learn and then transfer the information. Certain people can't deal with certain things. Mm-hmm. For instance, as I was saying before, post-traumatic slave syndrome is an impact that it have on our people up to today, because it comes through our DNA. Certain people will be able to deal with certain things in a dramatic way, and others just can't deal with it. You see, because from a chemically, what I'm saying, and in different ways, we are made up differently. Certain people could, you could see the World Trade Center, for an example. People who was there, they were traumatized. Mm-hmm. When we came out of slavery, right, there was no what you will call, no sessions.
No counseling.
No counseling.
Yeah, uh-huh.
So what I'm saying is that if your sister, there's a sister, she's a psychiatrist, and she applied the principles of psychiatry. I have a friend of mine, me and he grew up together, Dr. Leader. He went back to the United States, and he said there's a chemical in the brain called dopamine.
Uh-huh.
And he's saying that, you see some people trip out, we say, they go crazy, they're mental. He said it could happen to any one of us.
Yeah, but dopamine is based on, and again, you have to look at the difference in then. You talk about psychological impact. We look at that, but healing is an individual thing, huh? People talk about go to psychiatrists and you go to these counselors and you sit down and you talk and you talk and you talk. I have a friend, and it upsets me. I have a friend who she had psychological issues, and she went for counseling. and they went and they start putting on medication. Biggest mistake. You talk about dopamine, and those are things that sometimes, and these medication triggers that, and because you lose your own natural way of handling things, because that's what it is. When you can't handle certain things, when you're overwhelmed and you can't handle certain things naturally, then you have that flare up. But then it's the education that you don't have. All ancestors used to use the natural plants and the natural foods, and that is one of the reasons why they could have withstood all of that harsh treatment, because they were eating the natural stuff until they were fed.
But what happened with the medication now is the pharmaceutical companies.
That's what I'm saying.
It have impact.
Lots of side effects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that there's natural ways of dealing with these things. But what happens is that Big Pharma, as I call him, he propagates his medication and marketing in a particular way, that our people now forget the natural way of dealing with things. So the point I was making is that, from ever since, we've been in bondage for 400 years. And, the impact of slavery still lingers with us to this day. And we see the behavior of our people and we don't understand where it comes from. Like I say, different events impact people differently in different ways. So I'm saying to you is that from all this time up to this time, you see how our people behave today. And you don't understand that is the impact of the enslavement of our people that come down through the generation, through our genes, that transplant to our people in this present. And we're saying, look, why is our people behaving in this way? But we don't understand. Take food, for instance. Saltfish is a main staple in our diet. No, saltfish having a lot of salt.
But we can't afford to buy it now anyway, so that's different.
But I think that's part of the national dish now.
Yeah.
But where is the genesis, where it all began? In slavery.
Yeah.
Because that's what they feed us. Because what happened, sugar and salt. You could have hypertension.
Diabetes.
You could have diabetes. You have heart impacts on your heart and stuff like that. So what I'm saying, when you look at that coming down to where you think we have all these negative diseases that are affecting us? Because of the lifestyle and the food that we eat. Where it comes from? Slavery. The same issues we have with diabetes is the same issues our people have in Mississippi, in Barbados. So when you see the link, it are all the things that are affecting us goes back to the root, which was the enslavement of our people. And we don't understand these things. They think that these things just pop up or they drop out the ear.
Because Kalanji, I am a very controversial person. I'm going to tell you that, because I'm going to tell you why. And it's not, I wouldn't call it controversy. It's this. We hold on to those things. We hold on to the fact that we were, as slaves, we were fed this type of diet. We have grown. We've been out of slavery for how long now? We still hold on to this, and so we're asking the question, because every time, as humans, and especially as Black people, we revert back to that excuse. White people have diabetes. White people have hypertension. White people have cancer. And now we realize Black people doing the same thing. We have cancer. Cancer was once a white man disease because of the fast foods that they eat. But look at what is happening to us now. The sawfish is going up because it's too expensive. Okay, the pig snout and the pigtail is very expensive, so you can't afford to buy those now. But look what is coming in. The KFC fried chicken, the Burger King, the McDonald's, the Domino's, those fast foods that we as a Black people, we tend to hold on to other culture. You know why? And this is where we want to go. Because we have lost our real, or where we came from, the original, what Black people are accustomed to eat, what the foods of the Africans. If you look at what Africans eat, they still eat the bush. They cook with all these bush and their foods are grains, that natural grains. That's what they eat. We have to get back there, because now what we are doing is that we are complaining about the foods that the slaves were fed. But look at what we are doing now. We're eating the foods that they're eating. And it's posing another problem, because we were already hypertensive, we were already diabetic, and now we're eating these foods that has no substance, no nutritional benefits to it. I mean, and it's making us sicker. So the question I'm asking is, when are we have to now start teaching of how we're going to emancipate ourselves from that form of not slavery, but that ideology, those information that we were fed. How are we going to change our mindset? And this is what we have to start teaching our children about. Stop being followers and start, carving your own paths. We have to let go the effects of what slavery would have brought us, and now start to see how we can start to build. And that is the area that we want. Those are the information that we need to have coming forward.
Yeah, but like I tell you, it's a process. And what
Yeah,
I'm
but the
sa-
process is long.
Yeah, it's a long road. It's not easy because what I'm saying to you, see, you know, when we have these discussions, and especially around this time since the impact of COVID-19 and the pandemic and stuff like that, is that our people are saying, well, we have to go through this. It's been a long road, but we have a long way to go still.
But Colin, let me tell you something. We have to remember though, because we are holding on to the middle part. There was a beginning, right? When we were brought out of Africa into the Caribbean, we came here with a culture. Of course, there's a lot of things that was imposed upon us. There are a lot of things that we had to do. Food was one of the things, but we never lost. We should have never lost. And you saw it. If you read the book Roots, you realize Kunta Kinte, he used to still teach. The teaching still continue. Taught his daughter of where he came from, that whole history, because it was inculcated in our DNA. Reading was not one of the things that we were very good at, but we were good at giving off information, passing down information from one on to the other. So that was something that we were very, very good at. Why can't we go back to that? That form that's how we came. That's where we originated from. What was given to us was not in our DNA. That was pushed into us that can come out. But what was inculcated in our DNA is the lessons of passing down information from generation to generation. I agree. We have been seriously affected by slavery. Our culture has changed. Our mindset has changed. We have been totally displaced. We become very dependent. We see that in our day-to-day behavior. And those are the things that we have to try to start eradicating now. Trying to put on that positive, teach these positive influences try to influence our young children in a positive way by getting away that slavery mentality. I think that is one of the things that we have to get rid of, that slavery mentality. If you're gonna always look at it as an excuse, we're not gonna lose that mentality.
Well, you see, that's the responsibility we have to our youth. Like you talk about passing down the traditions. You talk about Kunta Kinte. That's the oral tradition that we had. But what I'm saying to you is that, for instance, look at what happened to George Floyd, and look how our people respond. You see, it take incident like these. I'm not saying that what happened to George Floyd should have happened, but it take incidents like these to reawaken us because, like you say, we lose certain things. So we're at a juncture now where, as I see, Babylon system is finished. It cannot recover from an economic standpoint. And we're at a juncture now where we have to seize the time to make sure that the information we are passing on to our people, that this is the course that we are on right now, where we can't go backwards, we will only move forward. Like they used to say in the Grenadian Revolution, forward ever, backward never. And there's a lot of obstacles that have been placed in our path to stop our natural development to higher levels.
How? What obstacles? We had a black man in the Oval Office, one of the most powerful men in the world. Black people have come to the point where they have sat in the most powerful seats. What is stopping us from continuing? We are just taking pieces and pieces and pieces. Just like how the Indians would have stepped up and take the place, the white man would have put himself in that position. Black people can do the same thing, but you know what is lacking? We are still holding on to that slavery mentality. We have to learn to emancipate ourselves.
But that's what I'm saying now. The information and the education we're going to transfer to not the elder people and the younger ones is an education of liberation. My position is that at this particular juncture, we're talking about the liberation of black people, African people. If you're not down with that position, then you're against us.
Well, let me ask you a question. So what are we going to be liberated from? We are no longer enslaved.
We're liberated in this sense that we determine our own destiny.
But we have rights now. We are not under that influence of white supremacy. We have kept ourselves there. I'm saying we have to learn to rise up. We are trying to liberate ourselves from what?
But we're not talking about liberation in the sense now, right? Because we have made strides. But in this particular time, we're talking about liberation we determine our destiny politically, economically, and every
But
which
we
way.
have, you know what I'm seeing? I'm seeing the price there, and we are there. But what we're doing is going around again, going back again at the starting line, running back again, going around
But
again,
the
going
pri-
back. The price. For me, we are. I'm a liberated woman, very liberated.
As
because
an
I'm now
individual,
culture-
as an individual,
right,
but
and
we are talking about as a collective,
but
as
we
a
have,
people.
and that can only happen collectively if we, the people who feel like we're liberated, can pass it on. And that is why I said the changes have to start to take place in our schools. That education that we are taught, we're teaching our children, is the same thing that we have been taught as young people growing up. That's generations ago. We have to now change that in order for our children to have a better understanding, because they're confused. We have that confused. Right now we have a confused race or a group of children growing up, because we see that we are saying one thing, and then when you look around us, other things are happening, because we are in a black community. But when you look at the influence here in St. Kitts, it still have been influenced by that same kind of supremacy, that those foreign investors that come in, they have the big say. We are here and we're not getting the same treatment, and we allow it. We have to start now. We have to start from here in small collective groups and let it spread. But we're not doing that.
Let me show you something, right? Right now we're on a project, the African Consciousness Movement, to renaming streets and places after our own people, local people. One particular project we're dealing with is like, you see the Pretoria right there in the circus, the little square there.
Yeah,
We want to rename it after Cecil Moonlight Roberts, right? Because that's where
That's us his home.
exactly.
Yeah,
And the work, not the contribution he made to our people
Yeah,
and our country.
That's what I said. That was
very
his home,
patriotic.
his office. Everybody wanted information. They could have gone there. and he was
Exactly.
there.
All right. So what we are saying that Warner Park have to be renamed after a local sportsman, whether it's cricket, football, whatever sports, whatever the person be, whoever they determine him to be, it have to be renamed, because we know who Sir Thomas Warner was. We want to change the information on the clock from the Berkeley Memorial to a local person. You understand? We want to rename St. Kitts, the original name, pay tribute to the Kalinagos, the original people was here. They're not here anymore, so we are the indigenous people now, right? We want to stop the pledge, our
To Her
leaders,
Majesty and her,
to the
and her-
Queen.
Yeah.
You understand?
And her
So
successors.
these are projects. We have petitions. People could sign them. So these are things we work. That's part of the educational process.
But this is what I'm saying. But you see, you know, we are getting that coming out now, because
So
you're
becoming
saying-
practical.
Yeah, this is what I've been saying all along. All along, we have the mindset of we are trying to this, we are trying. We are not trying anymore. It has to happen if we are going to be liberated. And I could go even further: the Anglican Church and the Catholic Church, and everybody going to look at me and say, "Sandra, where you?" But it is a fact. If we can't just take piece off and leave another piece hanging on, we can't want to believe in something and then you want to believe in one thing and then you're going to believe in something else. No, it cannot be mixed. It's either or. You have to go this way or the other way.
But like I said before, we're dealing with African liberation in its totality. So it's either you with it or you're against it.
Yeah, but
there's
do we
no
have-
in between.
Yeah, but okay, and I agree with you. But the information of Africa, what information do we have of Africa?
In what sense?
I mean, what Africans do, the mindset of the true Africans. I was looking at this documentary where this young guy, they're having it now, where they're showing who we're African, what Africa is about. He said the people come in and the missionaries come in because they want to get money. They show you all the poor, the poverty side of Africa, and to show that Africans are poor people, and they're getting water from the dam and the pumping water this. And at the end of the day, he showed you what the real Africa is. The Africa that is rich in natural resources and the lifestyle of the people of Africa. Not what we think. But again, he said one of the things that I was so proud of, because I was like, this is our culture. The pumping of the water, the eating with our hands, I mean, the playing in the dirt and that kind of thing. That is our culture. That is something that we don't want to lose. But people use that as poverty, and we have to change that. Those are the mindset that we have
But
to
it's
change.
our enemies project it.
Yeah, but
You see, but what I'm saying to you is that you have to understand everything is totality, because somebody who is not conscious, like me and you, will see that as a negative. But when you understand the root of it, then you have a different view. So that's why the education is very important. Because you're talking about Africa, but I'm talking about we as Africans in the Federation. Yeah, we have to start projecting, like you said, come with a new sense of identity and a new sense of direction. And we have the 7 principles of Kwanzaa to deal with that. Because it's a guide. You deal with your moja, which is unity. Kujichagulia, self-determination. So we have a guide that we're working on because it applies in your everyday life, and each day there's a principle that you could deal with.
And I understand that, okay. Just like you're saying, but it is something that's supposed to be in your consciousness. Huh? We have to be very conscious of that. We can't just go on, because that's what's been happening for us all the time over the years. Somebody teaches us something, and we hold on to it as a teaching. Somebody else is going to come and teach us again something, we're going to hold. We have to have that sense that it's the reality.
But you remember first you was talking about when you go to primary school. Dr. Ben said that the Catholics have a saying that once you teach a child from primary school certain principles, throughout his lifetime he will go with it.
Yeah.
Hold on. But that's what we are not doing. So we are saying, the time has come now for we to start developing up those kind of ideas. You see? So we are saying that we have a program, we have a plan. And that plan, for instance, the Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Umoja means unity. And that's Monday. To strive for and maintain unity in the family, the community, nation, and race. Umoja means staying together. So if we apply these on an everyday basis, it got to come. You see, just like how the pandemic come, everywhere you look, people wearing masks. There's social distancing. These things. So we have to start applying these principles to our everyday life.
Yeah, and the principle, we are applying principles, but we have to have an understanding of what it means in our everyday life.
It explains itself.
Yeah, and so we like for example, in my house, we understand I teach my daughter and my son that at the end, for the rest of your life, this is your brother and this is your sister. And whatever you do, you have to make sure that your sister is comfortable or that your brother is comfortable. It's that oneness that you try to create amongst family. Division is something that you don't want. So you teach that, and it's inculcated in their DNA. So in your homes, these are the things that, and I don't know where it came from. I know it's in me because what we are accustomed to, for me, it doesn't sit right. It just doesn't feel right. And that's why I said to my children, go back to your consciousness. Whatever is right, don't let anybody determine what is right and wrong for you. Your rights and your wrong are determined by the way you feel, your emotions. So if you're doing something that you know it's not correct, then you know that it's not. So you're coming with your principles of the words that you're using that they're not accustomed to. It's not about going back to African language because we are English-speaking people. So I mean, it is just.
But hear what you say, right? You teach this to your kids. But one thing we don't understand, even though we have lost a lot of our traditional ways, the spirit of the ancestors still within us.
Well, that's what I said to you.
So what I'm saying to you, a lot of things we're doing, we don't understand is really African.
But this is what I said to you before. I said to you, we always talk about the effects of slavery. We fail to realize that we come from a group of people that had a culture and a practice, and that is what was inculcated in their DNA. That is what they were born with. Well, the other thing is what they practice, and practices you can get rid of.
But
so I resort back to my feelings, my emotion, because you meditate on a daily basis and you try to you realize that you're a lost soul, and you want to find that connection, and it comes back.
You ever see, there's a movie named The Amistad?
No, I've never seen that.
Okay.
I'm not a TV person.
Okay, but it's a movie in the sense that these slaves was coming from Africa on a ship, and they took over the ship.
The enslaved Africans.
The enslaved,
were coming from Africa.
Yeah, good for the correction.
Yeah.
And they took over the ship, and they end up in the United States. And the case went to the Supreme Court, and they won the case and had to send them back to Africa. And one of the brothers in the Amistad say that every time you call on the ancestors, they have to come, they must respond. And that's an African tradition. But we don't know, we as a people now, we don't understand that. So sometimes we do things and we don't understand the root of it.
And
where it's coming from.
One of the bad thing about that though, Kalonji, is that I was looking at a movie, an African movie with my sister, And we saw that where the girl prayed to the ancestors and things happened right away. What the white man call it they call it voodoo. And now people practice. This morning I was listening to Sadhguru, and he talked about the same thing, the different culture in India, and they have the different temples, and in those temples people go in and they practice it's religion, but you call it black magic, you call it witchcraft.
No, that's what the slave master told
yeah,
me.
right. So
Yeah,
because
yeah.
of the fact that you're getting immediate, but look at what is happening. You're getting immediate reaction. You're talking to the God of the ancestors, and immediately they hear you. But when you talk to the white man God, the God that they give you, then they tell you, oh, you have to have faith, you have to have this, and this is a practice. And let me tell you, is if we go back and we start to teach this to our children, understanding that the power lies within you and the things that you can do as an individual. When I say that to people, and I say to my son, whatever you desire in this world, you can get it. You just have to say it, believe it, and you not believe it, know it, because belief is a term that they give us for us to keep down. Oh, I believe it's going to happen. Know that it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But this is what I'm saying. These are the things that they're in us. We have to tap back into those sources because they're there.
Exactly.
And we have to now teach our people. And that's why I was asking you, what are you teaching them? You have to teach our people now that it's in you. You just have to go back.
As Marcus Garvey said, there's nothing in the world common to man that man can't do.
Exactly. But it's in you.
But we have a different concept because of the brainwashing and the culture and how we've been socialized into society.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I'm saying, our slave master and colonizers, they understand because what they know they got from us, But what happened? They twist it.
They broke us, and we are still a broken
Yeah.
people. That's what they did. They broke us, and that is how they control
And
us.
socialize us into the way of life.
And that's how they control us. And you know what? This is what I said to you now, Kolonji, is that we have to get. I'm tired of hearing people saying, "Oh, we were slaves," and I was never a slave, and I was never treated that way. So why would I want to always, conform to that slavery mentality? This is how you have to train the children of today, that we were never slaves. Our ancestors were never slaves. They were enslaved. They were taught, and we are still doing the same. Although we don't have the shackles on our hand, we still conform to the same system. It's the system that enslaved our people. It's the same system that we are conforming today.
Exactly. So what I'm saying now, we have a program now. We develop ideas and educating our people to, be reborn again. Like, the Christians said that you have to be born again.
Mm-hmm.
So we are saying, no, you have to be born again African.
Yeah, but then don't, and we're going to say to them, and because I'm saying to you, do not let people come, don't let us depend on people coming and teaching you. We have to let you know that you can dig deep within yourself and find who you are and from whence you came. The practices are still there because it comes out naturally. The things that you do sometimes and you wonder because it's not what the people are accustomed to, and you wonder where it came from. But when you can start to look within yourselves again, it's in there.
But we don't understand the connection. For instance, take the masquerade. Come straight out of Nigeria. And we don't even know that. But you see, in order for you to make that connection, that's where the education comes in.
My auntie had a situation. I had an aunt who, every time she heard the beating of the drums, because I come from a lineage where my grandfather was a person who behaved like one of those high priests that you have practiced in Africa. And because, what happened to us is that we get rid of our old people and we don't listen to our history. So the young people don't have that coming down, and we who came down to, we don't pass it on to our children. And my auntie, when she heard the beating of the drums, every time she used to go in a trance. My grandfather used to do that. And he could have said, he could tell you a lot of things that was happening around and what people were doing and blah, 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 blah. And my auntie, it came down to her. She had it where sometimes you hear the masquerade drums and stuff. She would start to dance and all of a sudden she goes into a trance. You had to stop the music. If you don't stop the music, then she would start to say things. But you know what? They stopped it because they thought she was going crazy when it happened. And because we never had an understanding.
Exactly.
And now
that's where the education comes in.
And this is
but
it.
you know how I learned that? For instance, like this is summertime in Brooklyn, right, in New York. And every Sunday we go out in Prospect Park, and there's drums beating.
And you feel.
Yeah, and then I see the sister, the same trance you're talking about, just the natural beating of the drum. Now we're going to show it in a different way. You know, when you go to church and,
And
you
people
take,
get in the spirit and start to
it's
try
the
to
same
hype up
thing.
the
It's
clothes
the
and
same. It's the same thing. But you got to have the level of understanding to make the connection.
Well, you see, the problem with the church is the confusion, because you have the African
Spirit.
coming in you, but you don't understand it because then you're applying it to white man's spirit, and
Yeah,
then you're
but
falling
it's
off.
really African.
It's
But
an
if you
right.
go to a Baptist, okay, for instance, you don't see that in the Catholic
No,
Anglican
because
church.
that's
But
been
if you go to a
suppressed.
Baptist church,
But that's the reason why the Catholic don't have the big drums and the music in there, because they understand the effects of music on the black man. But when you go into a Baptist church, and they're confused themselves, because they do get into. I used to go to a Baptist church, and I had the same. When you hear the tambourine and the music,
I
and
used to that,
it puts
you're talking in tongues.
Yeah, man, it puts you
but
in a
that's
place.
that's the African spirit.
Trust me, it puts you in a place, but we don't have an understanding of it, because you're talking and it's not that you're in a frame of mind that you don't know how to express yourself,
Because you're in tune with the
Yes,
ancestors.
you're in tune with, but we don't know what to say.
Yeah.
We don't know how to communicate, and that is what it takes us to that point, and that is what got me into starting to look at life in a total different sense, because these are things that are happening to us, and we don't know why it's happening. But this is our source. You have long since passed that mentality of slavery.
What happened in the process that when we do these things, the white man now come and say, well, oh, that is
crazy. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
And then our black man will lock you up and say,
it's devil worship.
Yeah, and they give you an injection.
Everything, every part of our culture, he demonizes it.
Yes.
And then over the centuries, our people internalize it.
Yes, and it becomes a part of them. And this is the confusion. That's what I'm saying. These are the things that we need to teach our children. When you have that feeling that feels different, give into it, because that is the feeling that's your original feeling. When you see that you're behaving different to the others, hold on to it, because that is the original feeling. That is who we are. And that's what I teach my children. It is not don't want to be like, because we are in a situation now that we are confused, because the like that we are gravitating to is the one that hurt us.
Like, for instance, the Rastafari movement in the Caribbean in particular, that is the only movement that identifies with Africa in a positive sense, in that we as a people, as Rastafarians, anywhere a Rastaman go, if you're traveling worldwide and you see another Rastaman, just by his appearance, there's a natural affinity. There's a connection.
But you see,
but you don't have that with other African people. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I've traveled all over, and you come in the presence of another brethren or sister, there's a natural acknowledgement of these things, we as who we are. But other Africans don't have that. So what I'm trying to show you, don't care what they do, the African spirit always reign within us. So it cannot be defeated.
And, okay, good. And we understand that, but we have to now start teaching is how do you give in? How do you relate to? How do you communicate to that spirit? Because it happens in all of us. Like I said, when it started to happen to me, it was in church. When I go to church and I realize when you hear the drums, it gives you that feeling of it's a joy. It's a feeling of liberation. It's a feeling of wanting to express. It's an expression that you can't seem to give out. You can't get into, because it's like you're getting in and you're coming back out, because you don't understand. You don't have the keys to open that door and walk through. And we have to, it's a good feeling. But then when you see people behave that way, look at Rastafarianism. You came out with your locks, you didn't comb your hair, and people look at you as hippies and nasty people, and Rastaman is a lazy form of mind. And that is what you're told. And they look at you, look at the hippies they have in America, they relate you, they compare you to those people who...
A cult.
Yeah. Those are...
Because they relabel you. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying, that within your consciousness, you know who you are.
But it's
because
a
you're
fear.
grounded in that way.
But it's a fear that they have, and we don't realize that. Whenever they see black people are uniting, it is a problem. It's a fear. Because then they know that they know that what they were taught. You have people who are enlightened and the people who are very conscious enough. And when you have that, people starting to come in and you start teaching your people. They get in, they break it up because they cause that division. And it's the same thing when when Rastafarians came out and they came out with the story of who we are as of Africans. They try to get rid of that movement, because they feel like, and they tell people, look at them, they're nasty, they're thieves, and you're labeled thief. You're labeled as lazy people. And that labeling came out. And so up to today, when a person say Rasta, oh no, I don't want to hang with Rasta, my Rasta man too nasty. They always smell of coconut oil. Not realizing, that is what we're supposed to gravitate to. But because we've been so washed.
So that's what I'm saying now. So we're in a position now to get rid of all that negativity and move in a positive light. So, like COVID-19 have its good and bad effects.
Yes, a lot of good.
So what I'm trying to show is show us now as a people where we have to gravitate to one another, come together. And this is the time, like I said, we have to seize the moment. You understand? It's a joyous time in the sense that all these things, we have, like I said, we have a program, and it's for all of us as a people. It's not a Rasta thing, it's not a Christian thing.
It's for us.
It's for us as African people. We have a guide. You understand? The 7 principles of Kwanzaa. And it deals from Monday to Sunday. There's a principle that you could apply in your life to bring us together as a people. Because, like I say, we're at a critical juncture. Babylon system is finished. And we have to seize the time to now build our people as a nation. We can't look at ourselves as St. Kitts and Nevis and Antigua.
We're one people.
We are a nation of people.
Yeah.
200 million of us, Africans, and we're starting right here in Sweet Amigo. We want to change. Again, let me go backward to come forward. We want to change Bastille to Marcus of the Wood City. Or people could come with other ideas. But these things have to be changed, and this is where we are starting.
Why, who's Marcus, and why we want to call
Marcus of the Woods was a slave who escaped from slavery and destroyed the plantation, burned down the plantations. There was a party, some soldiers was put out to capture him, but he was never captured.
And why he behaved the way he behaved?
Because he wanted to liberate his people.
Right, and so you see, those are information. We don't just come and change. People have to be properly informed.
Exactly, and we have all the information. That's why we say Warner Park have to be changed, because
we understood
so-called Sir Thomas Warner.
But I don't think that's where Warner Park got his name. He wasn't from Sir Thomas Warner.
Yeah, it is. I have the information.
You have the information? I thought it was some Warner family that donated the ground to them. I thought that was the story.
No. I have the information somewhere here, right?
And so why was it called Warner Park?
The book memorial, let me see. I should have it here someplace. Marcus of the Wood City. Warner Park is bordered by Lozak Road on its south side, Victoria Road in the west, the Bastille High School on the northern side, and Park Range to the east. Originally, it was part of an estate owned by the Lozak family, a French family that continued to live in St. Kitts after the British gained control of the whole island. In 1817, the original list of slaves record a return of 71 slaves made by John Malzac on behalf of Admiral George Lozak, then owner of the Lozak plantation on the island. 11 of them were born in Africa. 13 were too young to work, and 2 were infirm. Among the remainder, there were an overseer, a driver, 2 boilers, a copper, a distillers, and a carpenter. Except for a few house servants, the rest worked in the field. Right? In January 1867, even before the Great Fire of that year, the administration recognized the importance of the land that is now occupied by Warner Park and the Bastille High School, flanked as it was by a number of significant buildings. The Moravian Complex Government House, the Poor Memorial School, the Grammar School, the Methodist Chapel, St. George's Anglican Church, the police station, and the jail. You see how big that plantation was?
But I said it was. I know. I want to find out how Warner Park. I think because I'm almost positive it's a family Warner that donated that land.
No, it was enacted that the land would not be planted to discourage cane fires near these properties. Part of the property was given to be used for housing to relieve the congestion in Irishtown and Newtown. In 1887, while preparing to celebrate the Queen's Jubilee, the Executive Council was in favor of the acquisition of the field in front of Government House so that it could be turned into a park to be called Victoria Park. The following year, the idea of the town extension was reviewed, but this time the idea of buildings a 35-room hotel was introduced. It was estimated that the project would have cost £6,000. However, the price for the land demanded by Edwin Wade was more than the government was willing to pay. The hotel project was shelved in 1895 when the price of sugar dropped dramatically. The town extension took place to the west of Bastille. Instead, when the government bought the property to build the park in 1926, it was part of the Wade plantation, which included College, Douglas, Dalzell, and Golden Rock, Hermitage, Paxson, St. Mary's, and Spooners. There were estates acquired during the 19th century by Solomon Wade. But before the acquisition could be made, the money for its purchase had to be raised. On the 28th January 1923, the St. Kitts celebrated the 300th anniversary of the arrival of Sir Thomas Warner. That's why it was named after him.
Okay, well, it's unfortunate that we're out of time. And it's a pity because it was very informative. And
So let me end by a quote from His Majesty on African unity, this being the 128th anniversary of his Earth Day. On African unity, unity is the accepted goal. Today, we look to the future calmly, confidently, and courageously. We look to the vision of an Africa not merely free, but united. In facing this new challenge, we can take comfort and encouragement from the lessons of the past. We know that there are differences among us. Africans enjoy different cultures, distinctive values, special attributes. But we also know that unity can be and has been attained amongst men of the most desperate origin. That differences of race, of religion, of culture, of tradition, and inseparable obstacles to the coming together of peoples. History teaches us that unity is strength and cautions us to submerge and overcome our differences in the quest for common goals, to strive with all our combined strength for the path of true African brotherhood and unity. Give thanks.
We are black people, and I believe that we should strive as black because Africa has its own issues and problems that they have to deal with too. We have to start looking at it from the point of view that we are a liberated race of people. We are black people, and we have to start looking. Africa is Africa, and I'm proud that
But this is an African
country.
country.
But we are black people, and we understand the struggles of black people, of a race of people, and I think that is the area that we have to start look at. Maybe you have to start to teach me and see if I can educate me and see if I can come to the same consciousness,
each other,
come to the same consciousness that you're in. But it was a beautiful discussion, and it's a pity that time has run so quickly. But I'll see how soon I can get you back in so we can do a follow-up. Kalonji, it was a pleasure. Thank you for accepting my.
I would like to do a follow-up based on the African economy in the sense that the buying and selling of things, our people need to get back to where we control that particular sector of our economy.
That's what we need to do.
And stop let foreigners control it.
And that is the area, that's the mindset that I want to.
And hear what Granny said, buy local, support your own.
That is why, that's what COVID has done. Everybody's now looking at that agriculture system and everybody wants to go back local. And I think that's one of the good things of COVID-19. And the good thing about it that we're out of time. The unfortunate thing about it is that we're out of time. And I definitely have to take my run. My name is Sandra Quilliaton. It was a pleasure for those of you who did not tune in. You would have missed out a lot. But I do hope you can refer to it again because it was on social media. So if you want to look at the program again, you can look at the Win FM 98.9 their website, and then you'll be able to find this program. It was a pleasure, and I hope that you'd enjoy your Friday. It's a beautiful day, and continue to stay positive. Things are going to work out according to Kalinji. It's a journey, and we are on that journey, and definitely we're gonna make sure that we come out on top.
And we are confident in the victory of good over evil.
Good over evil. Thank you.